Hi everyone, I'm Ali GREYMOND. Today I'm continuing to answer questions about OCD recovery that you asked below my video. Please ask a question and then the part one. First question is I have recently become a member and I am an avid listener to your channel. I have never heard you cover theme of POCD. Is this something you do? I've had this theme for 8 years. I've seen several therapists, but it always comes back. And you give me any idea and to why and how to beat it? I just think that I must be actually that person. Okay, so first of all, POCD theme is no different than any other OCD theme. If a person is um, a good, moral, conscientious person, what is the thing that's the opposite, right? And that's how it gets the person. But I actually feel like I'm a bad person, but it does feel so real. But I actually feel like I want this. This is what people say all the time, right? So with POCD, it's the feeling, it's the thought, but I find that a big problem, kind of a stopping, not problem, but a stopping block for clients is the feelings that they have. They can disregard the thoughts, but dealing with the feelings, it becomes a little bit more difficult, right? Because, well, how do I disregard the feeling? Well, the way you disregard the feeling is you just let the feeling be there, just like a thought. You just let the feeling be there. Feels like you have an urge, feels like you want this, okay. Feels like you have an urge, feels like you want it. Just choose to disregard it. Just look at it as it's OCD making you feel this way. This kind of intertwines with a little bit with sensorimotor OCD, where if a person has sensorimotor OCD, they can actually, and this is very common, feel physical pain. There have been books written on this, right? And if people with POCD, a lot of the times they'll feel like it will shift themes that I feel attracted to my say siblings. I feel attracted to my pets. I feel attracted to my relatives. Basically, anybody and everybody who is an inappropriate target can be a target. Not necessarily though. Sometimes POCD just stays within POCD theme, but sometimes it can kind of like move from one target to the other as well, right? So both are okay, but I'm just telling you like what I see in terms of variation. But it is a very common theme, and you have to treat it like anything else. Just disregard, because the more you power it up, it's to your brain looks at it as a red balloon. If you're scared of a red balloon, it will send you feelings, emotions, everything attached to the red balloon. And back to what I was saying with the sensory motor stuff, that if OCD can make you have physical pain, if OCD can make you feel like you are aroused, that there's nothing abnormal about it. It's your brain is controlling your body, right? So it can make you feel like anything. Don't fall for it. Just, yeah, okay, nice try, disregarding. The less you pay attention to it, the faster you will go through this and recover. Because every time you start to analyze, well, how am I feeling now? How am I feeling today compared to yesterday? Well, am I feeling better? Is my anxiety higher or is my anxiety lower? Then as you go through the recovery work, then you start to feel, well, I don't have much anxiety anymore. Am I a bad person because now I don't even have anxiety? Right? So you kind of you shift from one thought to another with this, and you just have to be like, no, it's all nonsense. I'm not buying it. Don't care how real it feels. That's really how you need to treat this. Next, and if you would like to do recovery work with me, my door is always open. You can always sign up through youhaveocd.com if you would like to try to work with me on this. Next question is, hi, I'm just 4 months into recovery work for ROCD and harm OCD. Sarcastically agree that with the thoughts, and it takes the power away from them. Anxiety has mostly reduced to a 2. It's great. Occasionally it rises a little bit, but I can push through disregard. Where I seem to be now is the thoughts still come, but not as strong or frequent. Occasionally they do bombard, but I have so little anxiety with them that they are more annoying than worrisome and sometimes affect my mood. But unfortunately, I do push through the sadness. But ultimately, I do push through the sadness and irritability and pretty much lead a normal life. Thoughts still there every day, but don't phase me as much as before. So my question is, where do you think I am in stages of recovery? Also regarding thoughts with no anxiety, is it normal as you recover? Why does it happen? And how do I do ERP for the thoughts that now have little or no anxiety? Also thank you for your help and community. I couldn't have come as far without you. Well, you're very welcome. So in terms of you're at the last stage of recovery. And with this last stage, it's important to right? What I was kind of saying with the previous question, that why do I not have anxiety anymore? Is it normal that I don't have anxiety anymore? Yeah, so it is normal. It's just because the thoughts are almost coming on repeat right now, just because like habit almost. But they carry very little anxiety because you're not paying attention to them. So, and that's exactly how OCD goes away. So you're just in the last stage. What I don't like is that you're looking back at it to try to figure it out, because the last stage of OCD generally doesn't matter what kind of theme you have. A lot of the times people start to develop OCD about OCD. Well, how am I doing? What if I never recover? How am I recovering compared to other people? Well, what does full recovery mean? And then you start to spin in this way. So your job right now, like what you're asking, what do you need to do in this stage? You need to live life as if you're over it, because you're pretty much over it. Don't start pulling yourself back in. You need to live life as if you already recovered. So maybe throughout dealing with OCD, you kept saying to yourself, well, when I recover, I will do this and that. I will try these things. Maybe I will learn something, new. I will switch jobs. I will do this and that, right? And what I want you to do is start actually doing those things, not in an overwhelming sense, right? Like don't take it too far. You have to take your time and kind of adjust to new life, right? But that needs to be your focus all day. Focus on real life. If I can sum it up in one sentence, focus on real life. Don't search up OCD. Really don't watch much OCD videos. You don't need to do that. This world of OCD is now passing you. You don't need to stay and keep yourself in it, Next question is, hi Ali, thank you very much for all your help. Oh, you guys are so sweet. I was doing so much better recently, but now it seems my harm OCD has come back, and it feels even more real. The feelings and sensations try to trick me back into rumination. And although I disregard as much as possible, I feel very tense, and I am so scared I might snap and really do these things. This is classic OCD, that I feel like I will snap and do something. Don't buy into the hype. That is all a lie. You will not not to give you reassurance, right? But yeah, what you do really need to do is just like what you're doing, focus on disregarding and track the time of how much you're thinking about it, how much you're avoiding, how much reassurance you're seeking from, like Googling who has snapped, has anyone ever snapped, let me try to see, and all of this kind of stuff. You can't allow yourself to do that, because you're just getting yourself deeper and deeper in. You need to be like, well, when the police come and get me, then I will take it seriously. For now, everyone says it's OCD. Ali says it's OCD. I'm disregarding. If I'm wrong, then we'll all go down together. You know what I mean? So just try to look at it this way, right? Because it is just scary. Again, like question after question, you guys see, it scares you with feelings. That it feels real. It feels like I might actually do this. It feels like I want this, right? It's all feels, but it's fake feelings brought on by your brain to push you into a reaction. Next question. I have a question regarding that when my mind is busy and or I am not doing something, OCD thoughts don't come in. But as I try to quiet my mind, be in some silence, OCD thoughts come in. I disregard and do not ruminate, but this happens every time. How do I attain the silence and stillness in my mind? Also, another question is, now, even when I'm worrying or contemplating about anything general in my real life, I feel anxious and heavy breathing. Um, I think this triggers OCD even more. How can I stop OCD from taking control over my regular life? So I think you're doing a lot of avoidance in the way that you're trying to uh, get your mind to be still, while what you need to do instead is let your life say, let your mind rather say whatever it wants to say. It is going to be pretty much like screaming at you all day long, and that's okay, right? That's how everybody's OCD goes. So it's quieting your mind, right? If you it seems like you're somebody who is into meditation and these kinds of things. What how do they train you for meditation, right? That they say you're focusing on your breath and let the thoughts that are going through your mind be parallel to you, right? So you're not engaging with them. You're always keeping your attention on something. So in terms of OCD, you're keeping your attention on regular life. So you're just doing regular things. So say, for example, you wake up, you get OCD thoughts. You're like, oh, I'm going to go brush my teeth with OCD thoughts. So imagine it's like your shadow. Your shadow just follows you, but you're brushing your teeth, you're going about your day, you're living your life while OCD is there. But you're not paying attention to it. You're just letting it have its space. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're not trying to push it away. You're letting it have its space over there. But I'm over here. I'm not with you over there. I'm over here separate. Right? And then, over time, it will, because you're not feeding it energy, it will dissipate on its own. So it's just kind of like pulling back from it. Just, you know how this mechanism of OCD, it's not just specifically for OCD. This is how our brains generally work, that you may notice something, kind of like what people call nitpicking, right? That if some specific thing is really important to some person, they will spot it anywhere, right? But other things that are plainly obvious, they might not spot because they're not looking for them. Because you're looking for stillness in the mind, it keeps you trapped in it. That is your theme. So, so you just need to kind of let it be, leave it, and then, of course, reduce compulsions, reduce checking, rumination, all of it. Next question is about germophobia and contamination. And ritual checklist of hand washing, needing to check certain things are safe to use or consume. I have a hard time dealing with this. For example, going through hand washing and say it's good enough, not to mention the need of a ritual checklist of hand washing procedure. Ends up being a vicious cycle of repeats. I'm struggling overcoming the need to check or go through a ritual and disengaging in the ritual, but also concerned that ending up throwing caution to the wind and being reckless in the process, ignoring legitimate dangers. Feel like I need to shut that part of the brain to accomplish recovery. Yeah, so I would say for the germophobia, what I find helpful with clients is to there's two principles I usually work with that I find are extremely helpful. One is if you write out every single thing that you're doing and like a hierarchy, and then start reducing. See, with germs, hierarchy actually is very, very helpful. However, that works if you have only a few specific things. If you have, thousands and thousands of things, and the rituals are really long, then it might be easier to say, okay, you know what, I'm gonna do this ritual or these types of rituals to a 99% perfection, and say you do your list, your checklist, but you do it to 99% perfection. So maybe you go over each item a little less thoroughly, right? So and just reduce very, very slowly. I think that when you're saying it's not working, it's almost like well, not that you're saying it's not working, but when people are saying that it's very difficult, it's just because they're kind of taking more on than they can handle in the moment. So I think that try to go very slowly, and just like, okay, if I'm doing, say, this week I'm gonna do 99%. You start to feel comfortable just doing just a little bit, not perfect, all of the rituals, right? Then next week, okay, I'm gonna go 1% less from the previous week. And then let yourself get comfortable with that. Once you get comfortable with that, then move down, say, by 5% or by 10%, right? So you can kind of create more of a faster recovery as you go along. But in the beginning, I find it's so difficult for people, and the steps kind of need to be fairly small, because otherwise it seems like it's just too hard with the compulsions. But I promise you, just continue on this path. Even if you just did a little bit each day, it will grow in a positive way, right? Because it grew in a negative way of creating more and more rituals, and now it will go in the positive way of getting rid of these rituals. Next question is, hi Ali, thank you so much for your work, you're amazing. Thank you. Question, I've been failing miserably on my OCD. Went back to checking, analyzing, doing all what ifs in my head, where it literally has set me back. I know deep down, based on what I researched to find evidence, it's irrational, but the constant habitual behaviors is so hard to break. It's like I feel I need to do another double check on my research to see if I see something so scared of seeing, as usual, there's nothing. I was doing so good for several months, no checking. I was feeling myself, got caught up in the intense urge, what if thought. My mind is telling me you must check online one last time, and checking urges, and I give in. Since then, I've been stuck. Feels depressing. I feel like if I don't check to feel reassured, maybe it will be true. Can't shake this off. It's been 4 years. Your videos has helped a lot. Help out. Okay, so with the situation, you need to put yourself on this checking, online checking diet, so to speak, where whatever your right now frequency of checking is, try to, just like with the previous question, you need to just reduce by a little bit. With this kind of situation, what I find is effective, again from experience with clients, is to go to, if you're doing this multiple times a day, if you're in that stage, do once a day, then every other day, then once a week, then once every 2 weeks, and then once a month. And then you can go from each of these stages to the next one when you feel comfortable. It doesn't have to be all at once. It doesn't have to be, I would kind of wait a few days or wait a week, get the one stage kind of cemented in before you move on to the next one. But yeah, it's you just have to be reducing, because it's the online checking. I've been down that road as well. It's the worst because it's never ending, right? So, but again, me having this experience with online checking personally, I can tell you that reducing really does work. And I see this with clients as well, that if you just reduce by a little bit, right now you feel like, well, I can't not check at all. So, okay, so just reduce by what is doable for you right now. And then when the anxiety drops from that reduction, because the anxiety will drop because the feeding of this OCD drops, right? So when anxiety drops, you will feel different, and you will feel like, you know what, maybe I can go a day. Okay, so go a day for a few days. Then, well, maybe I can go 2-3 days. Maybe I can go a week. That's how it's going to develop. But you got to put your foot down and say, no, I'm just not checking. And again, going back to what every single question today, right? It's about feelings, but I feel uncomfortable, but it feels real. You have to say to yourself that, yes, it will feel real every time. For now, for the next few months, it will feel real. As you get better, feels less real, but it feels real. That's okay. You need to be disregarding that feeling. Because OCD can give you thoughts, OCD can give you feelings. It can mimic the feelings exactly. Again, like people are feeling physical pain, and OCD is making them feel that. There's no actual reason for that pain other than OCD, right? So I'm telling you, you have to take this kind of leap, and it's not really much of a leap because you're still gonna check, but you're just gonna check less and less as you're going forward. Generally, when I work with clients, the way we try to do it is we try to reduce by 25% each week. So then in 4 weeks, we reduce by 100%. compulsions or ruminations. In some situations, obviously, it takes longer because if the situation is kind of very strongly developed, where there's a lot of compulsions, a lot of rumination, sometimes that's difficult for a person but you can see right away where you are in your recovery. So as you start to do this, you will see that how long did it take you to go from 100% to 75, right? So do you know what I mean? Like, so to reduce by that first 25%, how long did it take you? And then from there, you can kind of predict how long your recovery is going to take. But it kind of doesn't matter because you're doing recovery. I mean, everybody obviously wants you to recover as fast as possible, but you're going from point A to point B, and as long as you're on that journey, you will get there. A little sooner, a week sooner, a week later, but you will get there as long as you stay on the journey. That's it for today's questions. I will be back with part 3 tomorrow. If you do have a question, please leave it below this video or any of the last few videos of Q&A. I will see it there. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. If you would like to do the recovery program with me, all the information is at newhaveocd.com. I'll see you tomorrow.